Hi again, everybody. Story here from Anonymous. Hey, Ollie, if we could keep this one anonymous, my husband watches your channel from time to time. So I wrote you about going no contact with father-in-law, but I started to notice things weren't feeling any better. I wasn't feeling any better. I started to look into my marriage. My husband is known by the public as the sweetest man you could ever meet. Even my family thinks this. I've always thought this, but now I'm wondering if he is a narc too. If he is, I think he would be covert. If I gave you examples, maybe you could let me know what you think. Now that I'm more aware of narcs and realize I've had two narcs in my life, I've been extra careful to watch how I'm treated in this time. I am shocked by all the signs I missed in my own husband. Examples. Never once has he done something for me for a birthday. Not a card, not a note, not a gift, nothing. I always thought he just didn't have a romantic bone in his body. Also, our wedding, we didn't write our own vows, we were writing our own vows, but he never wrote his. So the morning of the wedding, I cut the vows, I wrote half and gave him half my vows to read at our wedding. Come to think of it, I can't think of one single time he went above and beyond for me. I never thought the above examples mattered because if I ever asked him to get me something or help me with something, he would do it for the most part. But recently I noticed any task he has ever been given, he messes up. I'm starting to wonder if he does it on purpose. I'm going to give some examples that they aren't that serious, but maybe it says something. Let's say I ask him to go to the grocery store. I give him a list and tell him not to stray from that list. He will stray every time, and when he gets home, he makes me feel like I'm unreasonable and I'm upset at him for straying from the list. Let's say he's ordering dinner and I tell him I want iced tea, and I tell him multiple times because he usually messes orders up, and 1 minute later he orders a Coke. If I'm gone for the weekend, he'll agree to mow the lawn or do some yard work, but when I get home, he hasn't done anything. Those are all small examples, but he never completes a task, and when he does, he doesn't complete them properly. His excuse is always, I forgot, or it slipped my mind. If I say how it's possible that you are always forgetful, he makes it seem like I'm overreacting. He never really apologizes. He has never apologized. Last night, I was a little irritated because he was becoming very passive aggressive, and at the end of the night, he said, I'm sorry. I just looked at him and I said, for what? He said, I don't know, I'm just sorry. What the fuck, Ollie? Whenever he has apologized, it's always if I've pointed out that he didn't do it, and when he does, he doesn't know what for. When I'm talking to him about something that upsets me, he shuts down and even been known not to say a word or go into the other room. We'll come back and pretend like nothing has happened. Or when I point out that he's like a brick wall to talk to, he will say, I just got to insert action, fix problem. But will never follow through. He's even cried and like, wow, he gets it. But the next day, he's back to the same old person. When I was about a week away from giving birth, he still expected me to be cooking, cleaning, and doing the laundry. He had no empathy for the fact I could hardly move. After my C-section, he really didn't take care of me unless I asked for help. I had to constantly remind him that I just had surgery and needed some help. He just assumed I could go right back to normal just days after being cut open. During my labor, he slept, and I had to argue with him for about a minute to get him to join my side for comfort when I was in pain. Guess what he did when I said it hurt so bad? He fucking pinched me. He thought it would distract me from the pain. 24 hours later, I hadn't slept, just undergone surgery and loads of pain, and asked him for some help, and he says I'm exhausted. From fucking what? Napping and watching me in pain? When I said that, he realized he looked nuts and helped me out. I notice he does a lot of passive aggressive things to get his way. I also feel he also shoots down my ideas and plans. I have to argue with him always to try to get my way on the simplest things. He always tried to interject his opinion even when he's not asked. He always hovers over me. When I'm in the kitchen, he will hover over me and tell me to do things. different ways. I always have to kick him out when I'm cooking. I was literally sewing once. The man has never even sewed. I was pinching some fabric and he was telling me I was doing it wrong. But he doesn't come out and say you're doing it wrong. It's always statement like, are you sure you should be pinning it like that? I was cutting fabric once and he said, oh, you can cut it on that side of the cutting mat. He asked this before I already had told him yes. I looked at him and said, for the second time, yes, you can cut it on that side. He says, I don't remember you telling me. Why are you acting so crazy? I know these aren't all big deals, but when you add it all together, it feels like it is. It's death by 1,000 cuts. He's very, very covertly passive aggressive and lazy. And you're right, he does things wrong, so he won't be asked to do them again. And what he is it's death by 1,000 cuts. He's a covert, death by 1,000 cuts. He probably picked up a lot of this from his father. I feel like a lot of the stuff he says has alternative meanings behind it. I hate always having to figure out what he's really saying. His dad is a narc. Is it possible my husband has narc tendencies that can be ironed out? He does seem to really love our son. He will do things like wash bottles and help the baby without being asked. But then again, I don't know if he's doing these things to butter me up. I'm not sure if my husband is a narc. He says things like, are you sure you should eat that? I'm looking out for your health. No, he doesn't want you to get fat. But then he will say I'm beautiful the next day. It's just so confusing because he has enough nice things for me to think maybe he isn't a narc, but he does enough narc things like that. He has me confused. I'm 25 and still young enough to get out, and I'm wondering if therapy is even worth it, or I should run. Or is this a codependency from being raised by a narc? He shuts down when being argued with and seems like he has no temper, but his temper comes out in forms of road rage. And let's say he drops something and makes a huge deal, but when something is really a huge deal, he doesn't get mad. It's so confusing for me to personally, because he has narc tendencies because he was raised by his father. The reason he blows up the way he does at little things and not over what he should, because that's all he feels really comfortable blowing up at. He's angry. He has anger issues that are coming out in passive aggressive ways. This is a jumbled mess of a message, but I hope you can help me sort this crap out before I allow myself to keep going through this vicious cycle of him never communicating with me and never improving. I am no angel. I have a temper and will call out this bullshit. When I call him out, it's like I'm the crazy one. I've worked on my temper since before pregnancy, and I stay very even-tempered, even if I'm calm and overreacting in his eyes. This is all fucked up. I feel like I was blinded by a lie, and all of a sudden he switched and became a different person. I will be sending a donation soon. I watch your channel all the time, and I think you deserve help for helping strangers through this sort of crap. Anonymous. Well, I'm not saying the marriage is completely unsavable, but he definitely has the tactics, and he's on that path. And he needs to understand that and say, I would tell him, look, you are displaying the same narcissistic acts as your father because that's how you were raised. So you can either work this out and realize what's going on, or this is not going to work. All this passive aggressiveness, this laziness, all has an ulterior motive. It's all he knows. He might not even realize why he's doing it. The fact that he doesn't blow up over the big things, he blows up over things like road rage or dropping, just tells me how angry he is on the inside. And he has a lot of stuff that he needs to deal with honestly for himself. He needs to go through some kind of therapy on his own at first to get the ball rolling, not just with you, because he might not be comfortable having to admit all these things with you sitting there, and he might feel like it's an attack. he needs to get into some of his own therapy, and he needs to be honest about all the stuff that happened to him. Because the fact that he can blow up on the road, but he like just introverts when it's something serious, tells me how angry he is, and he's just waiting to explode at something else. He's waiting to be attacked. And he has picked up the narc traits from his father, and he may not even realize he's doing it or why, now that you're no contact from him in that whole situation. So now some things might be manifesting and bubbling up. I'm not saying the marriage can be saved. I'm not saying the marriage is over. It might be a little too early to just turn heel and run based on him cutting out his father and what he's been through, and it seems like he has plenty of good qualities. Okay, but it's this covert narcissism that he grew up around that he might be picked up some of the traits. Well, he definitely picked up on some of the traits from what you're telling me that he needs to work on. But understand, your husband is really angry. Not at you, he's angry over his life. And he might need some understanding on that as well, as you need some help and you need some understanding. He doesn't understand empathy towards you because his father probably never showed empathy towards his mother. You don't get it. That's why you can empathize with the son, because the son is a boy and you're a female. You see? That's what he was raised in. Now, it doesn't mean you should just give up and run away, but it doesn't mean you should just give him carte blanche to do whatever he wants. You need to be honest. Say, listen, you need to work on it because I think you're internally really angry, and you want to explode. And the place to do that is in a therapist's office. The place to do that is telling your story, and dealing with what happened and realizing what happened was wrong. And then maybe you can fix it, but maybe you can't. But I would give it a little bit more time, at least have the conversation with him. So thank you for your story. I hope that helps. Please let me know. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any advice or comments in the comment section below. And if you have a story, some audio, a topic you'd like me to cover, or you just like to contribute to the channel, you know what to do with the PayPal link in the description box. I'll have the video right back to you. This is Ollie Matthews. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all again soon.